little bit more around the recruitment process. So again, any questions specifically you have to that, please send them in and we'll try and get them covered. So I'm going to pass straight over to Hiran. Hope you enjoy the session, and yeah, over to you, Hiran. Thanks.
Cool, thanks, Sabrina. So thanks to everyone for taking the time out this evening to kind of join. So as mentioned, I'll be kind of helping to moderate the panel session. We've got Christian here, Joshua, and Oba. So I'll let them kind of give a brief introduction to themselves, and then we'll run through some questions for the panel. So Josh, maybe over to you first to give a quick background into yourself.
Sure. Hey everyone, I'm Joshua. I'm currently a quantitative developer over in the rates and bonds algo team, and I guess we'll probably get into a bit more of that and what that means in the panel discussion. But for now, that's me. Oba, would you like to go next?
Yeah. Hi everyone. I'm Oba. I'm an equity research analyst in the investment bank, and I look at European telecoms specifically within that.
Cool. And Christian.
Hi everyone, my name is Christian. I'm a senior director in the investment banking side of the bank. So on a day-to-day basis, what I do is M&A, IPO, and this type of transaction. So I'm an advisor for the transaction. I've been with UBS for a little bit over 4.5 years. I was with Credit Suisse before I joined UBS, and I'm looking forward to chatting with all of you.
Perfect. Cool. Thank you, guys. So just to kind of start off with, then, Oba, first kind of question for you. So I guess good to know kind of what led you into investment banking and what keeps you motivated on day to day, essentially. So good to hear about kind of a bit about your journey.
Yeah. So I've been at UBS for just about 2 years now, and I kind of went through the grad scheme at UBS. So I finished that about a year ago. But going a bit further back, I studied history at university. So to be honest, I didn't really have any kind of plans or, to be honest, a particular interest in finance when I started out. But when I was a first year at university, I studied at London School of Economics. So a lot of my friends who were doing economics, finance, management, and those kind of degrees were just applying for kind of first year spring weeks and internships. And just by being in that environment, I thought, you know what, why don't I give this a go? I don't know much about it. Let me at least see, what finance is all about. So I applied for a few of those, managed to get one at Credit Suisse. And then after I did that, I managed to get a summer internship at Credit Suisse. And then I did that and ended up at UBS following the acquisition. So that's how I kind of ended up in UBS. And then within equity research specifically, I think what attracted me to that was the ability to kind of just explore both finance, but geopolitics, economics as well. So I think in my role, there's a lot of leeway to just dive into different topics. I think I mentioned earlier, I look at telecoms, but as part of my job, I need to keep up on US politics, I need to keep up on what's happening in the Middle East, what's happening in the UK, what's happening in Europe. So I think what keeps me motivated is just the ability to be able to constantly explore what's going on in the world. And that's something I enjoyed while studying at university. That was a big part of my degree. So being able to implement that and be able to enjoy that again in the workplace is something that I really appreciate. No day is really the same in that way because things are constantly changing in the world, which means my job kind of constantly changes, and what matters and what drives the companies I look at is constantly changing. So I think it's that dynamism that motivates me on a day-to-day.
That's really interesting. And I guess from your day-to-day role, who are the main kind of stakeholders that you deal with?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So internally, I guess our main internal stakeholder is sales. So to basically just give you a bit of insight, the salespeople we work with connect us to external clients. So salespeople take our research and feed that research into external clients, pension fund managers, hedge fund managers, etc. So we work very closely with sales. They effectively sell our research to investors. So they're kind of our first point of contact. And then occasionally, we work with Christian's team when we're involved in kind of IPO and equity capital markets transactions and things like that. So we kind of interact with everyone. We also interact with wealth management. We have wealth management clients who also use our research, and asset management as well. So I think in equity research, you're quite well positioned in the sense that you basically have fairly regular contact with everyone in the investment bank and even outside of that.
And one final kind of piece for me on this topic. So before I got into banking, I kind of didn't know anything about the roles within a bank or anything like that. So did you know what exit research was before you joined, or is it something you kind of learned once you got through the door, essentially?
Yeah, it really was learning when I got through the door. I saw research, and because I did a history degree, I thought, okay, I do a lot of research. Maybe this is quite similar to what I've been doing, quite different, but what I appreciated was there was no expectation of having, loads of knowledge on day one, as long as you were willing to learn. People, always had time to teach you. So I think that was really good. Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks very much. So Josh, on to you. So obviously I know you quite well. So you've had a couple of roles here, but what's the one challenge you faced in your role at the moment, and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, great question. I think so my journey, like Kieran kind of mentioned, I've had quite a few different roles here at UBS. So I actually did an industrial placement at UBS, so for a year, and then also did a short internship over in global banking for a little bit as a data scientist. Came back and worked in sort of like a support function, but still on the technical side. Then moved into IB Tech. And now I'm a quantitative developer over in rates and bonds algo. And I think especially in this sort of particular role that I'm in now, one of the biggest challenges that I faced is probably just product knowledge. So rates and bonds have so many different flavors to them. And so it's quite difficult to fully comprehend all the sort of nuances of all the sub products. And I guess overcoming that is just being more comfortable in the realm of the unknown, because that's kind of like the paradox of learning, I guess. Like the more you learn, the more you actually comprehend the lack of knowledge that you truly have. And I guess overcoming that is using that lack of knowledge in order to succeed in that environment, not using it as an excuse to be complacent, but kind of like an oxygen tank when you're sort of trying to survive into that descent of the unknown. And I guess that's probably what I would say was my biggest challenge, and how I overcame it, I guess.
Yeah, no perfect. And I guess what's kind of been the biggest surprise about moving into the role that you've moved into?
Biggest surprise, probably the independence and the responsibility that you get from kind of day one. Things move very quickly in my team, and you kind of just get given something, and although you have the support structure around you, you have the onus and the responsibility to architect it, to code it and deliver it, and then support it going forward. So like recently we've just had a project with regards to Australian government bonds, and that was just given to me to price and support the traders in using that algo going forward as well. So yeah, I think it's probably just the responsibility from the offset.
Sure. And obviously, like your previous role was in IB Tech as a software engineer, and you're moving into kind of still a development role, but more front facing. Are the roles similar in a way, or is it a lot more different than you thought it would have been?
So there's definitely some similarities, but I'd say they're quite different in the sense of a lot of the work in IB Tech, for example, you're working on parts of a project, so you're working with multiple people on different parts of a project. Whereas in the role that I'm in now, I'm sort of the lead for that project. I'm one of the few people who are working on it. Again, I'm architecting it, I'm building it, I'm supporting it going forward. Whereas it's in Ivy Tech, it's a bit more segregated. So, for example, you would build it, somebody else would test it, somebody else would support it going forward. So there's a lot more independence, I guess, and for me and how I like to work, I think it's a lot better because I'm the closest person to the code. I'm the one who's built it, so it makes more sense for me to support it going forward.
Yeah, no, perfect. So I guess one question I kind of ask everyone is, what's it like working on the trading floor?
It can get a little bit loud sometimes, but yeah, you're the closest you will ever be to the business, and you learn so much on the trading floor itself because again, so for us, we can't use our phones on the trading floor, so you're constantly like listening to the environments around you, and it's a great place to learn, especially for, like I said, with the challenge was that product knowledge. You're hearing the traders right next to you. You're with your team. Everyone's around you. You just naturally pick things up. Everyone's sort of within like an arm's distance from you, so you can just go over there and have a chat with them. If something's wrong, someone else is coming to have a chat with you. So it just makes everything a lot more efficient. So yeah, although it can be a little bit loud and boisterous at times, but it's good fun.
That's cool. Thanks very much. And Christian, onto you. So, in kind of working with a banking, what do you think kind of both technical and soft skills have been most critical to your success during your time here at UBS and previously at Credit Suisse?
Yeah, interesting question. I think it's the way it's phrased is exactly correct, because it's not only about technical skills or only about soft skills. What we usually say, to interns and analysts that comes through the door is that soft skill actually makes for at least 60% of the work that you need to put in. Basically, in terms of soft skill, what we're talking about here is attitude, a willingness to learn. Basically, you need to be able to be the kind of person that is going to dig into a topic and try to find a solution to a problem that no one has thought about before. And what I mean here is, you might not have the revenues to build your DCF, but you need to come up with the cash flows in order to have your business plan and run your valuation. So that ability, to be able to think outside of the box, and grind and stick with the topic is really important. It's the most important part, I'll say, to get through the doors. Aside for this, obviously, there are some technical skills that are important to have. I would say, the basics one are accounting skills, understanding, the financial statements, obviously. But aside from this, reading left and right and being able to learn valuation techniques and etc. is enough to be successful in this job.
That's cool. And what do you think the biggest misconceptions are about being a banker?
The technical skills. I think, if you ask people, they'll tell you, oh, it's a very technical. You need to be extra smart. You need to be almost, an engineer, in order to be an investment banker. That's not the case. Very honestly, with everybody on this phone, what we do is not rocket science. It's very simple. We tend to try to complicate things, and have a lot of acronyms, a lot of little names that we give to very simplistic themes. But trust me, it's not complicated. If you are willing to put the work in, if you are willing to put the hours to learn and to actually do the work, anyone can do this job. I'm not saying that it's easy, because it's a lot of work. But with the right mindset, I think anyone can do it.
No, that's good advice. And what's the biggest challenge that you face in your role at the moment, and kind of how have you overcome it?
Biggest challenge. So I think there are a few. I think, to be honest, recruiting is one of the challenge. I'll be honest. The reason why I'm saying this is because there is a lot more competition out there, from the finance world. I'm saying, that engineering, is becoming a very interesting topic. AI is becoming so interesting that a lot of people, are actually, drifting away from finance. And aside from this, obviously our job is directly linked to economic trends. So when the macroeconomic landscape is not looking great, obviously it makes our job a little bit more complicated because people might not do M&A, IPOs, and other transactions when things look a little bit more difficult for them.
And what excites you most about your role?
The diversity. I think I like the fact, that in the morning, you can talk about an M&A transaction, in the far end of California. Then in the afternoon, you can talk about an IPO that might be happening in Italy. And then maybe in the evening you might speak about a leverage transaction in France. I like the fact that it's very diverse, that you get to speak with a lot of very different people, and you get to have a look at a few different culture. I'll say, because obviously the way we do business would be different from Americans, would be different from some people in some region in Asia. So I like the diversity and the challenge that brings to you, and the fact that you need to adapt a little bit to your audience depending on who you're facing and for what topic you're facing them.
And then one final bit on this round for you. What's the biggest achievement of your career so far, would you say?
Can you say that again? I didn't hear that.
The biggest achievement of your career so far, what are you most proud of?
I think being able having been in this industry for now 10 plus years is a big achievement.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people will have dropped over the years because it is difficult. So it is difficult because of the hours, because of the amount of work that you need to put in order to stay on top of your game. I think where I'm proud of myself is the fact that I'm still a very active member of this industry, and I'm proud of being part of UBS, and I'm actually a lead recruiter for part of our team in investment banking.
And actually, I want to open that question up to Josh and Oba as well. Kind of what are your biggest achievements of your career so far? What are you guys most proud of? Oba, I'll kind of go to you first.
Ooh, that's a good question. I would say nothing ultra specific, but just coming in pretty fresh and having like a pretty basic knowledge of equity analysis, equity research, etc. And now being at a point where I'm actively contributing to my team, and I'm able to speak on client calls and kind of confidently give my views on the stocks that we look at. So I guess just seeing that progression, going from someone who had zero exposure to finance, hadn't done any maths since my GCSEs, and then being able to talk about valuation and technical things like that, I think is what I'm proud of, having kind of gone on that learning journey.
No, perfect, thank you. And Josh, over to you.
Yeah, I think mine's actually quite similar to Oba's, to be honest with you. I came from like a support function tech role to now being in sort of like right next to the business and being actually part of the business and being a quantitative developer there. And first joining UBS, I didn't actually think that was something that I could have done, or didn't think that I had the knowledge to do that. But the more time you spend here, the more you realize that like things are attainable, and yeah, and then getting promoted off the back of that, I think it's probably the biggest achievement so far. But it's still quite early in my career, so we'll see what life has to bring me.
You achieved a lot so far. So I guess sticking on to you. So what's the what advice would you give to professionals looking to take the next step in their careers in the IB?
Yeah, great question. I think firstly, just being competent is probably your minimum requirement. I think everything is attainable, like I kind of just said. And if you don't necessarily have the tools or the skills yet to get to where you want to get to, I think it's identifying what you need, and that's a really easy thing, and you can just speak to people who are already there to try and to understand exactly what you need. And then secondly, identifying how do you get it. So for me, it was the knowledge gap for my asset class. So it was just identifying what do I need to know, and then finding out what are the resources that I can use to get it. So just being competent. Second of all, I'd say like your personal brand, like what makes you you, and then how best can you showcase that. So for me personally, I think I'm quite dependable. I think the quality of my work also shines through. For others, that's their like tenacity, for example, or like their willingness to learn, or whether they're reliable, their honesty, etc. So find out what makes you you and your personality type, and then how do you best showcase that to the people that you're interacting with. I'd also say get some mentors. So for me, like, and I say mentors plural because for me, I had more than one, and you don't necessarily have to have just one. I think different mentors can function for different things, and you don't necessarily need to make the same mistakes that other people have made. You can hear from those mistakes, learn from those mistakes, and kind of fast track your career. And lastly, just listening, really. I think you'd be surprised how much people like talking, especially about themselves. And when I say listening, I don't just mean being quiet, but actually listening with intent to hear what they're saying. And you'd be so surprised about this, like how much you learn from just doing that alone. And I think that's about it. So just being competent, listening, your personal brand, and getting some mentors.
I think you're ready to be a mentor already. And what's the best piece of advice you've been given from a mentor?
That's actually really good question. I think it's the personal brand point. So that's not something that I come up with. It's actually something that was a piece of advice that was actually given to me. Understanding exactly what makes me me, and how I can best showcase that in how I interact with people, how people see my work, etc. Has helped me like exponentially in getting to where I've got to today. So the best piece of advice I'd definitely say is how do you best identify and showcase your personal brand.
Perfect. Scott, I might fire that question over to you as well, Christian. What kind of advice would you give to people looking to kind of take the next step in their careers in investment banking?
I think being ready is the biggest advice that I can give. And by that, what I mean is that it is twofold. First of all, as Joshua mentioned, there's a bare minimum of technical skills that you need to have, at least on the advisory side where I sit. As mentioned before, accounting is a basis. So be ready, to understand and be able to talk about accounting and really able to play a little bit with the numbers in there. That's the first advice that I will give. The second one, networking is incredibly important. A little bit like Joshua just mentioned, you might not know exactly what you want to do. You might not know exactly how to do it, how to go and get into investment banking, what team to join, how to apply, and etc. Networking will help you to figure that out. And by that, I mean speaking with people and professionals already in the industry. You guys are lucky because nowadays there's multiple ways you can do it. LinkedIn is a very good tool for you to do so. But try to speak with as many people as you can. It will help you to understand the industry. It will help you understand how a bank function, and it will help you also understand where you would fit in this picture.
That's cool. Thank you. The best piece of advice that you were given throughout your career?
The best piece of advice I was given, I'm not sure it will apply directly to the young population that we have right now, but a few years ago, one of my mentors actually told me, "Hey, Christian, you need to start using your network to get your own clients." And I was not that senior when he told me this. I started having these discussions with him, with potential clients in my own network, and then it really helped me to grow my platform and got me where I am today.
Yeah, I think it kind of links into the soft skills that you kind of mentioned, that relationship building, that stakeholder management piece as well. I think it has a bigger impact throughout your career than probably people realise,
Yeah.
and something that you definitely kind of realise that people that do that throughout their career, and it's such an easy thing to do, and it's an easy win where actually the benefits are massive and the ROI is huge on it. So you know, completely agree. And Oprah, same question to you.
So it's best piece of advice from a mentor. Is that the question? Can you just repeat?
Exactly. And how do you advise kind of people looking to take the next step?
Yeah. So I'd say for me, just being super curious and willing to ask questions is probably the kind of number one piece of advice I'd give. There's just so many resources, particularly if you're interested in kind of markets and equities, the sort of role I'm in. But online, whether it's Spotify or Apple Podcasts, whatever, there are super smart people giving away information for free. And you'd be surprised at just how much kind of value you can get out of that. It helps you, but then also in an interview process or whatever, it's a really good way of showing, I've got a genuine interest because outside of, work or whatever, I'm actually thinking about these things. I'm, really passionate about it. And then it also goes back to the kind of networking angle. Don't be afraid to reach out to people on LinkedIn, reach out to people, in the industry, and just ask as many questions as possible, because, people like one talking about themselves, but also you'll find most people are very willing to kind of share advice, because we all had pretty similar journeys, right? Where we were all in a position where we didn't know, too much. We were trying to make our way into the industry, and we had to ask people for help. We had to reach out to people on LinkedIn, etc. So because everyone's gone through that, they are typically very willing to help where they can. So I think, yeah, don't be afraid to ask for help and be curious. And then on the best piece of advice I've been given, I guess it would be just don't be afraid to kind of sell yourself. So if you've done good work, don't be shy about it. Be vocal about what you've done, how you're contributing, etc. And then also don't be afraid to kind of put your hand up, because people very much appreciate someone who's, willing to get stuck in, willing to make themselves available. And yeah, just make sure, I guess the final thing is, often when you join, particularly as a junior, you're doing maybe some more administrative tasks and stuff like that. But once you build up a track record of, this guy's reliable, that goes a long way. So if you do the small things right, eventually you'll get rewarded, and you'll build up a reputation, which is super important. Another actually good bit of advice someone told me was, once you build up that reputation, let's say you build up the reputation of someone who's always in early, eventually, even if you're in late, not that you should ever be in late, just because people think you're always on it because you've had that track record, it's just cemented in people's minds, and it gives you a lot more leeway. So I think, yeah, reputation super important, consistency super important, and just developing kind of those good habits.
Maybe one last thing, because I think we just haven't spoken about AI, and I think it's so important that we need to attend to this topic. I think in our industry, AI is becoming so important, and for young people like yourself on the line, who are really growing up with it, it's very important that you understand how to use it and be very efficient using it. I think it's comparable to when Google was created and became available to the wide public. Just think about how people were using internet before Google. AI should be the same, and if you master the way of using it, if you can use it with an efficiency that is higher than all the people like myself, are using it, you're going to have a lot a lot of advantage going forward.
And how's it impacted your day today, Christian?
Oh, incredible! I cover the chemical sector, and for the life of me, I was not good at biology or chemistry or anything like this, in school. So basically, the way I use it is to try to understand what those chemical reactions are, and that's like 90% of the time that I'm using an AI tool. This is what I'm looking for. And that's what I mean by being able to use it efficiently for your personal gain. I'm pretty sure my boss has no idea how to use it the way I'm doing it, and I'm sure a lot of people are using it even better than what I do.
Yeah, no, so this is what I tell a lot of people. It's not going away, so we need to embrace it.
Exactly.
And obviously, people have kind of their concerns with kind of security and that kind of stuff, but it's finding a way to make it work for us, improve how we do our job, and add value. And that's kind of how we go. And Josh, how's it impacted your day today? Assuming it might have done, obviously being a technologist.
Yeah, surprisingly, not much, to be honest with you. We are inherently technical. So AI is mainly doing more sort of like medial tasks, such as sort of like meeting notes and email analysis, etc., etc. But in terms of like actual day-to-day coding and building systems, AI doesn't really have much of a part to play at the current moment. As you can imagine, we're heavily regulated, so as a result, everything and all of our algos and our models need to be explainable. So it means that it needs to be completely deterministic. So given a set of inputs A, we will always get B. So as a result, I don't believe AI has really made much of an impact on our day-to-day and our actual role. However, as developments are made and as regulation starts to change, I think that will definitely have an impact and start to see changes there. But so far, not much, to be honest with you.
Right, cool, perfect. Do you see areas where it could make an impact, or still too early to say from your stage?
I think, yeah, there's definitely scope, because again, like artificial intelligence can do things way quicker than we as humans can. Obviously, it's as the model starts to get a bit better, I think that the mistakes and things that it's currently making aren't going to be as profound. So the scope could change the industry. However, until there's sort of adequate regulation around that, I don't really see much changes happening. And as you can imagine, with a bank, like in terms of regulation and allowing things such as like AI to take over our algos, it's going to be a little bit slow. So there's going to be a bit of a time lag.
It's cool. Thanks very much. And Oba, how's it impacted your day-to-day, or if at all, so far?
Yeah, so I'd say in a similar way to Christian, more about kind of self-development. It's just a very, very good sounding board when you want to quickly be pointed in the right direction. Okay, I need to learn a little bit more about this company, or I want to understand, why company X in a different region that I might not, be laser focused on is valued at X level or Y. So I think it's super useful just getting yourself clued up on topics that would ordinarily take you a couple hours if you were just going through, the Google classic way. So I think it's just very useful. Also helps you avoid asking, some of the questions you might consider a bit silly. Like I'm often reminding myself, okay, I was taught this, pretty early on, so I don't want to ask my boss necessarily, how to do this. So if I just pop that question to AI, it lets me get away with quite a few embarrassing or potentially embarrassing moments. So yeah, it's just it's super useful to just answer those kind of queries.
From Christian's reaction, I feel like he's got the same thoughts as you.
Yeah. I mean, when you don't remember what hydrogen is, and you're supposed to be a chemical banker, it's not great. I mean,
Yeah. Thanks, guys. So that's the end of the panel discussion. We've got a Q&A at the end to kind of go through some of the questions that you guys sent through. But if the team could bring up the slides, I think my colleague Remy next to me is going to run through some more about kind of recruiting insights, and I'll let her take away.
Perfect, thank you. Perfect. So hi everyone, my name's Remy. So I'm an IB recruiter here at UBS. So I personally actually cover hiring for our global banking division and IB COO as well. And my colleague here next to me, he covers hiring for global markets. So today I just wanted to run you guys through, I guess, a few hints and tips directly from a recruiter herself on writing a perfect CV. Obviously, lots of advice we could be giving you on this. So I'll try and keep it as simple and straightforward as possible. And of course, some of these things, they're going to sound quite simple, like I'm stating the obvious, but believe me when I say as a recruiter that these things really do go a long way. So hopefully helpful for you all to know. So if we could flip over to the next slide, that would be great. So I guess there we go. So I guess one of the main things actually for me to just start off by saying is, as recruiters, we receive thousands of CVs. You know, it completely depends on the role and how popular that position is. In some cases, we'll get hundreds. In some cases, we will get thousands. And whatever rumours you've heard of, you know, the CV screening stage being done either by AI or being run through a certain system is definitely not the case here at UBS. So one thing to bear in mind when you are writing a CV and applying to any roles at UBS, the first person that is going to see your CV is a recruiter, so it'll be one of us. So we do review every single application and every single CV that comes through to us. And the way that we then manage the process from there is we will sift through all of the CVs and we will create a shortlist of the strongest profiles. We will then send forward to hiring managers or hiring teams for them to review. And they will then, you know, make the ultimate decision as to which candidate will be shortlisted to go forwards to interview. So before you get to that point, there are a few key areas that us as recruiters will focus on when it comes to reviewing your CV. And of course, as I said, some of these things sound very simple. So you've got, for example, in the profile and experience section, to update your CV to include your recent experience if you haven't already. Sounds very simple, but you would be surprised how many times as recruiters you're scrolling through thousands of CVs and you simply can't make out, you know, where this candidate's working or the dates that they've been there. So just make sure that that is super clear, especially for your most recent experience, because ultimately that will probably be the first thing that we look out for is your recent role. So just ensure that's super clear. Always add a few bullet points under your current role around any of your key roles, responsibilities, any key achievements as well, anything that you think is extremely helpful for the recruiter and the hiring manager essentially to know about. I think we've spoken a bit as well about transferable skills in terms of both soft skills and technical skills. I think we've said, you know, soft skills, they tend to go a long way and they may be overlooked, especially if you're looking to transfer across to a slightly different role to what you're currently in. You know, recruiters aren't expecting you to have experience doing the exact role that you're applying to, and that's okay. But I think the important thing is if you are looking to change role in any way is to really pick out what those key skills are, soft skills that you have that not only make you great in the role that you do, but you know are going to utilize your performance in this new role that you're applying for as well. So I think we've lost the slides.
Also, bring the slides back up, guys.
Yeah. Give us a couple of minutes. Another thing that you can do just whilst we wait for the slides to come back up, always make sure before you've actually submitted your application that you have fully researched the role. Make yourself familiar with the job description so that you understand the key expertise that the hiring manager is looking for. that's exactly where they will list whether the role is technical, so whether they require technical skills or not, and how many years of experience, etc. So just ensure you are making yourself familiar with exactly what these role requirements are. If there are a couple of things on there that you don't have and you think, oh, I don't know if I should apply, it's always worth submitting the application and applying if you feel that there are other skills that you can bring to that role. I think UBS is very important to know that we are a very diverse culture, and we're not just looking to hire, for example, in an investment banking role, just pure investment bankers from other bulge bracket banks. We're open to seeing other CVs from either boutique firms, or, you know, it could be anything that would bring an additional perspective to that role as well.
Cool. What are the best things, Rem, from your side where you've seen candidates do really well, and like, okay, that's great, what would you advise other people to do, and what are the biggest kind of things where you see, well, actually maybe you should stay away from doing that?
So I think in terms of staying away from things on your CV is lots of words and paragraphs and multiple pages. You know, it's extremely time consuming to be scrolling through and reading almost essays on CVs. So keep them as precise as you can. I think clarity is key when it comes to building out your CV. So the clearer you can be, clear and concise is absolutely perfect. So yeah, just bullet points rather than paragraphs. I'm really trying to pick out your key skills and experiences to reflect, you know, your candidacy for that role.
Yeah, perfect. I think the biggest thing, like Remy said, is transferable skills. So she highlighted that really well. I think people don't realise what they do have that can offer to a role. So actually think a little bit more holistically about the role that you're interviewing for or that you're applying to, and don't think of why you won the job, think of the value that you can add to the job. And kind of look at it from that perspective. So yeah, and I think the stage that you guys are in your career, it's kind of almost a good way to also realise what you don't want to do, and having those, like the panelists said, having those conversations, networking, finding out about roles, finding out about other bits and pieces, and just kind of, it's important to what you don't want to do as well as what you do want to do, because the worst of it is stuck into a role for that you don't like.
And that's a good point, actually, is when it comes to interviews as well, is remember and have that confidence that if you've been invited to an interview, it's because both the recruiter and the hiring manager has seen your CV and they have confirmed that they think you've got the relevant experience required to do the role. So have that confidence that, you know, it's a role that you can do, and go into that interview remembering that this needs to be something that you're interested in as well. So go prepared with questions. You want to make sure that this is the right role for you. It's not just about whether they like you and they want to hire you as well. It goes both ways. So always remember that one as well.
Perfect. Cool. No, that makes sense. I guess, Christian, if you don't mind putting you on the spot, you're obviously a hiring manager. And what do you look for in CVs?
I'm guessing we're talking about interns, right?
Yeah, I think any like that kind of junior level to kind of up to a kind of associate level CVs. So on the more junior side of things.
Yeah. Well, I had the luck to recruit quite a bit, you know, with Remy. So
Christian's sick of me for the hiring we've done.
Yeah. So I've been drilled. I've been drilled. No, I think I can only echo what she just mentioned. Basically, you know, what's important really. Please keep it short, because as she mentioned, you know, there's thousands of applications for one job. So we tend, you know, to give advantage to people who can express themselves and show their skills, you know, in a very direct and sustained way. What I would look for, I say, you know, previous experience is very important. If you have any, of course. If it's not exactly, you know, in the industry, I like to see, you know, how you could apply those skills, you know, to the current job that you're applying for, and please, it's also important, you know, to put, you know, external and your hobbies, things that you like to do. We like quite a bit, you know, like people who, you know, who have done music in the past, people who have done sports at a high level. It shows, you know, some sort of determination that is actually quite applicable to our job. So if you're doing anything else, outside of school or work, and you have some passions that you can talk about, it can be really relevant, and it can actually speak to the hiring manager in more than one way.
And I think our slides coming back. So while they are, I think one thing that I always try to say to my candidates that are applying to roles is always kind of try and show kind of ideas and metrics of where you've done things. So for example, like I did this and it had this outcome. So to show that you've actually been a part of kind of projects or teamwork or all that kind of stuff, and you've not just kind of been there sitting in a meeting, for example, to show you've really been hands-on. But I'll let Karen, if she's missed anything from the slides, now they're back.
Perfect, thank you. To be honest, I think we've gone through most of this anyway, but in terms of tailoring your CV to the role, as I said, make sure you do your research, make yourself familiar with the job spec before applying, and just make sure you tailor your CV to really pick out those key skills and attributes that you currently have to highlight those, so that whoever is picking up your CV, whether the recruiter, hiring manager, can really see those skills straight at the top of your CV, and they have confidence that obviously you have those skills and attributes that they're looking for. And next slide.
Move to the next slide.
Yeah, perfect. So preparing for your interviews. In terms of interviews, I know we've kind of touched on that a little bit just now as well, but some advice from myself as well, especially with UBS as a firm. We're very big, not just on your technical skills, your soft skills, and whether you have the ability to perform that role, but also your behaviors and things like your attitude. UBS will certainly be looking to hire people who have very positive can-do attitude, who show a genuine interest in the role. There have been situations before in the past where we've run, multiple interviews with multiple candidates, and there may be no doubt that there's a candidate that can perform that role and they're very highly technical and they've got the ability to do it. But if they are not showing, their willingness to work as a team or their positive attitude, then that can go against them as well. So always have that in your mind, and it just refers back to the personal brand that many people have mentioned today as well. So I think that's one very, very important thing, and probably the first thing you should be thinking of when it comes to conveying your own personal brand during interviews. Also have a think around what it is you want to learn about the role and the team. You've obviously got the job description already, so you already know an insight into what it is the team are looking for and a slight insight into what it is that they do, but have a real think and maybe do some research as well about how these teams work, what other teams they might partner with, and go in there prepared to learn a bit more about exactly how they work day to day, who they're partnering with day to day, and I guess anything that might help in terms of understanding their values to make sure that you're reflecting those as well. And I think that's probably...
So that's time for the Q&A, guys.
They could just receive it by email, right?
Yep, yeah, I've got it now here. So, cool. So someone's written in. So I graduated in June, but I don't have the internship experience. I'm applying for off cycles and grad schemes, but if I don't get any, would you recommend doing a master's? If so, what courses would you recommend? And if not, how else could I break into the IB? So again, Rem, jump in whenever you're ready, or wherever you feel. But again, I think it's quite generic. I think you need to have an idea of roughly what area you want to go in, because if you wanted to go into kind of Christian's world, into banking, you may not need like a master's. You may need a specific master's. If you want to go into Josh's world and you haven't got a technical background, you may want to do something software engineering related or kind of computer science related. So I think it's definitely possible, but it's kind of the first thing I would say is to kind of have a rough or try and have a more specific idea of what you're looking for, because then it will help kind of plan your next actions forward. But it's definitely possible to do that. And again, if you don't do a master's, I just think there's loads of other things that you can do, whether it's training courses, your own self-learning, things like Coursera, events, stuff like this. So yeah, anything I've missed, guys on the panel or Remy, feel free to jump in.
Yeah, maybe one thing, because I often get this question, from students, who are asking what should I do if I don't get any internship at UBS. I mean, we value all type of experience. So if you can get an internship, at another small boutique, even in another industry, just being able to show that you have experience in an office is already going a long way. So I would not necessarily neglect the option of trying to put a new line on your CV if you have the opportunity to do so.
Yeah, really good point.
And of course, you're applying the next year. I just hired a candidate that applied to UBS for the third time. So, it happens.
Yeah.
Is that for you?
It was not.
Oh.
He was a graduate. He was an intern.
Perfect. Cool. So second question. So it seems the majority of the team started early in their careers. Is it possible to pivot into investment banking as an experienced professional? So long story short, for me, yes, it is. But I can give a bit more detail. Kind of Rem, your views on that?
Yep, no, I do agree. I think, again, it comes back to understanding what your skill set is and really looking at whatever area it is that you're looking to pivot to, seeing what their requirements are and utilizing those skills and going out there and seeing if you don't have them, what it is you can be doing to really utilize them and work on those. It's definitely not impossible. You just may need to do a lot of research and just understand exactly what it is that you'll need to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I keep banging on to people about is transferable skills, and see what you do now can benefit what you would like to move into and what transfers over. And then, like Christian kind of said, with some more of the junior candidates, is you kind of take the same approach, get experience where possible. Networking, like we said in the panel, all those things kind of come together, make a massive impact. So it's just thinking of ways that you can be proactive to kind of get your name out there and attending events like this and all those kind of things. Anyone in the panel have anything to add on that?
I think it's pretty much all covered. I tend to agree with everything.
Amazing, cool. So will the IB firms be willing to hire someone of 50 years old? Yeah, essentially, like, we don't discriminate by age, and we just look at who is the best person fit for the role. So yeah, that's a pretty easy one for us to answer. And again, I've done that multiple times. I'm sure Remy has in her roles. So yeah.
Yeah, you don't even see anyone's date of birth, so you wouldn't know age.
Yeah, no, exactly. And again, like most other firms, we don't discriminate by age, kind of gender, religion, all that kind of stuff. Is very much the best fit for the role, and that's all we look at essentially.
I think you missed one, right? Number 13.
Number 3 is that the
13.
Yeah.
Number 13.
Oh, I've got 13.
I can read it out. Yeah, I can read it out if you.
Yeah, do you want to read it out?
Yeah. Any advice for someone who's trying to pivot from being an accountant to a career in investment banking? Well, if I can take this one very quickly, I mean, if you heard what I said, about accounting, how important it is in my job, we just love accountants. So yes, it's very possible. So if you have experience in accounting and you want to apply for one of our roles, please be free to do so, because we have a lot of them on the floor. On my team, I have two ex-accountants. So I mean, it's very, very possible.
The applications that Christian seems are going to go through the roof from the accountancy firms now.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. And then, how do I cross into a banking and finance role with experience in a different career? I guess it's similar to kind of the other kind of questions we mentioned. Again, depends on kind of what your skill set is, how it transfers over, but also proactively seeing ways in which you can get experience, knowledge, all those kind of things. Networking, again, you're going to hear me kind of repeat the same kind of words over and over again, but I can't stress enough how important it is. And it seems kind of pretty trivial when we do say it, but I've seen countless success stories from this, and you kind of get out of it what you put into it. So if it's something you're super passionate about, go all in on it. Go to the events, do the study, do the reading, do the networking, and it will pay off, because we've seen, myself and Remy, seen tons of cases where it does happen. And we don't know, and the big kind of misconception that banks only hire from banks, that's not true either. We do hire from all sorts of kind of backgrounds, because it's diversity kind of comes in many ways. It's diversity of thought as well, from different industries, different perspectives, looking at it from kind of a brand new set of eyes. So that's one thing that we do really focus on. Actually, it's kind of pushed top down in the organisation as well. And I think that's why we've had kind of really successful kind of last few years, as well as that culture's got stronger and stronger. But yeah, anyone else want to add anything from the group?
Nothing from me. I think you've covered it quite a bit. Or just conscious of time, do you want to share the QR code so that anyone who wants to
good shout.
to talent can see them?
I've just asked Boomy to share it, so it should be coming up in a moment. But maybe in the meantime, apologies, my camera doesn't seem to be turning on. But Hiran, did you have any, or Remy, or anyone, did you have any closing words as we're about to finish? Because I just wanted to say a huge thank you to everyone for joining, and also thank you to everyone for Hiran and Remy for your insights on the recruitment process, and I think your advice has been hugely helpful. And thank you very much to our panelists as well. I think all of your insights as well have been very insightful. Actually, I have learned a lot. Hearing your different stories and actually the journeys into your roles has been really great. So really appreciate everyone joining. The QR code, is it showing now? I can't.
Yes.
Yeah, we can see that.
Yeah.
Super. So the QR code, if you scan the QR code, it will take you to our talent community. So I would just advise anyone, if they are interested in applying to anything, or just generally interested in UBS as an employer, and there's nothing sort of live at the moment that you think is right for you, if you sign up to the QR code, we will keep you updated on sort of open roles and things, initiatives that we are taking part in, events and so on. So I would definitely advise you to do that. And I think I'm going to close up now. Boomy, I don't know if you had any last words, but a huge thank you to the panelists, thank you to Remy and Hiran, and thank you to everyone for joining. I'll pass back to Boomy.
Thank you so much, Sabrina. I think I was enjoying the Q&A segment, and I'm a bit sad that we weren't able to take all the questions, but I'm sure that the community took a lot away from today's session. I'm just going to piggyback on what you already said, Sabrina. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for joining, and thank you to the panelists for everything shared. I think I've definitely left this conversation with a lot learned. So thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and please stay connected. You want to reach out to follow the speakers, you want to reach out to connect with UBS, please go ahead and do that. You know how we do it. It's all about connection. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.